See, it's so quiet. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew Dunn. This is a song about not being exactly where you thought you would be at this point. I had a lot of people talk about getting older, and they think, you know, like 30 is hard and 40 is hard. And I didn't care about those. 25 was hard for me because. But here's why. Because when I was 25, I thought I would know whether or not I was going to have a musical career. And what are you doing? Oh, sorry. Anyway, so this is a song about kind of about that. And then I turned 50 and still wasn't sure if I was going to have a musical career or not. Not what I wanted at 25. Not what I planned at 50. How will it be at 75? Quarter century ahead of me. Time keeps ticking, life keeps slipping away from me. I'm not quite there, far from where I want to be. There's so much more that I'd rather do, and I don't know how, but I'll stumble through. Feeling in my bones that this is true. Change is overdue. The world just seems to set me up at the edge of opportunity. I never found the will to jump, however doubt and insecurity. That time keeps ticking, life keeps slipping away from me. I'm not quite there, far from where I want to be. There's so much more that I'd rather do, and I don't know how, but I'll stumble through. Feel it in my bones that this is true. Change is over. Do what you want to do when you're on the downhill side. Nothing left to lose. It's not about your pride. Reach deep inside. Inside. Not what I wanted at 25. Not what I planned at 50. And every day is a brand new day to be the me I want to be. Time keeps ticking, life keeps slipping away from me. I'm not quite there, far from where I want to be. There's so much more that I want to do, and I don't know how, but I'll stumble through. Feel it in my bones, this is true. Change is overdue.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
That is Andrew Dunn. And there's nothing like having live music in the room, right? You can still feel the vibes from last night. Some of you were here. We had Bob Sima and Shannon Plummer. Oh, my goodness. Was that amazing? Right? We just had an amazing time. So welcome everybody at Center for Spiritual Living, Morristown. I'm Frankie Timmers, and we are so glad that you're sitting here in a room. Can you feel the full house from last night? It was like, woo! And I'm glad that some people decided to sleep late after that concert, right? And thank you, Jean, for hosting them. And those of you who are online, we love having you with us. We know that you can watch this live right now and any other time in the future. We are in July, almost the end of July. And July is the month of the theme, Practice Makes Imperfect. What an interesting title. And the year is a grand rising. So today my topic is practice anyway. And it's the continuation of what we've been talking about all month. And besides Andrew, we have another guest with us, John Herron, who's a licensed practitioner in Princeton. He will take you through a little juicy spiritual practice and some wisdom from our founder, Ernest Holmes. So let's do our Namaste practice, which is the Sanskrit word for the divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. And I always tell you, remember, you're not just giving, you're also receiving. And I've been thinking lately about how receptive am I to the blessings and the love of others. And I realized that I have some room to grow, to expand, and to deepen. And that was a really cool, aha. So let's put our hands together and bow to one another and say, Namaste. Namaste. And let's treat our word for affirmative prayer. So let's withdraw our attention from the outer world for just a moment by closing our eyes if that's available to you and comfortable for you. And so the interesting thing that happens when we close our eyes, we usually take a deep breath. We become more aware of that internal activity that is happening. And in metaphysics, we know as within, so without. So we use the world, we use life as a mirror to see where we are in alignment, how we are in alignment, how we are not. And we infuse that with love and compassion because we know shame, fear, and all that stuff doesn't work. And so we just become aware and we use it as a reason to practice, knowing that there are as many spiritual practices probably on the planet as there are people, because each of us are a uniquely individualized expression of the one. So today, we open our mind and our heart and our body and our soul to the experience at hand, and we know that what we hear is not necessarily what's being said, but what we perceive, and that perception allows us to be informed around how we can stand in the truth and express it in only the way that we can as individualized expressions of the one. And so most of all then, right here, right now, we trust this journey. We trust this human journey. We trust that we are awakening to our divine nature in new, fresh, glorious ways by opening and being more receptive to the experience at hand and the wisdom that is being revealed and how that gets to become our embodiment and our experience. And so I trust that we're in the right place at the right time with the right people and that we are receiving the blessings at hand. And so it is. So, a very, very long time ago, I was told by a health practitioner something that I've never forgotten about, and it talks about how life is in thirds, and that our life should be 1/3 rest and relaxation, 1/3 work, and 1/3 play. How you all doing with that one? Of course it changes, right? So where do you think spiritual practice fits in? Play, rest, or work?
All three.
All of them? All three? Good answer.
It's not our first day. It's not our first day.
Yeah, it's not your first day. You're all well seasoned. I'm kind of preaching to the choir, right?
Yeah.
And so we talk about spiritual practices, and it's so different for everybody, right? So what kind of spiritual practices do you who are sitting in the room here do? What are some of the practices?
Take nature photos.
Take nature photos.
Meditating.
Meditate. Treatment. Spiritual mind treatment. Affirmative prayer.
Keep a gratitude journal.
Keep a gratitude journal.
Write songs.
Write songs. See, there are so many ways to practice. So in the Science of Mind teaching, we have 6 spiritual practices. If you have taken a membership class, you know what they are. Wink, wink. or any classes, wink wink, right? What are the spiritual practices in our Science of Mind teaching?
Meditation.
Meditation,
Visioning,
visioning,
treatment.
spiritual mind treatment.
Circulation, but giving it no?
Well, that could be a seventh. That's a good one.
You're only there for the
Study,
first
spiritual
time.
Study,
Reading. Yeah, reading.
study, reading, and affirmation and visualization.
Yeah.
So those are the 6 spiritual practices in the Science of Mind teaching. And what we learned this month is that the voice of the perfectionist is usually the voice of the bully inside. It's the voice that says, you're not good enough, or you don't do enough. And so that's why imperfection is such a part of welcoming and embracing, because it tells us that our human nature is perfect, whole, and complete as it is. But we don't quite believe that, because that inner voice says, that's not true, and I'll prove it to you. And so we have this battle going on inside with the part of us that is divinely perfect, whole, perfect, and complete, and the part of us that doesn't quite believe that yet. And so that's the work that we do when we do spiritual work, when we do inner work. So let me set a tone here that this is a judgment-free zone I'm establishing. If you want to establish that for yourself, I would say go for it. It's a shame-free zone. But in that zone, I have a question about your spiritual practices. How many of you practice spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer every single day? Okay, so I want the 2 of you to come up and do a spiritual mind treatment out loud. No, just don't do that. I'm kidding.
I'm not part of your group.
That's okay. So I'm actually kidding, because what you all want to arrive at, remember, no judgment, no shame, is you want to drop, stop, and treat and do an affirmative prayer out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. So it's really important to notice how you almost vomited all over the chair in front of you when you heard me say, come on up and do a spiritual mind treatment out loud. It's so interesting to me that what gets in the way is fear and shame and inner judgment when we are asked to pray out loud according to what we teach affirmative prayer. It's really just speaking from that highest place within you and not worrying about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and what people are going to think and what they're going to hear and how to, right? And so it's important to notice that. And when we notice it in a shame-free, judgment-free zone, it just becomes wisdom. It becomes powerful information about your spiritual practices and what is next to embrace and embody. How many of you do affirmations every day? Show of hands. Handful. How many of you meditate every day? Handful of people. How many of you do visualizations every day? How many of you do visioning every day? How many of you do spiritual study every day?
Does Facebook count?
Facebook doesn't count. So Facebook is a spiritual practice in a way, right? We say that.
Thank you.
So in a way, what we discover is that life is a spiritual practice. But it's not just about superficial stuff, which Facebook can be, right? Facebook is a spiritual practice for you. You dive really deep in your opinions, your thoughts, your feelings, your judgments, and you work with them by owning them and not by pointing fingers, whether that's literal or not, right? And so that's why Facebook can be a spiritual practice, because we can see what it triggers in us and what it wakes up in us, which is often what wants to be healed. One of the most important things right now for those of us who say we're on a spiritual path is to do our spiritual practices. So maybe instead of a third play, a third work, a third rest and sleep. We become aware that there's a big chunk in there that is part of our spiritual practices, where we meditate every day. Because that allows us to go away from the surface and have that deep inner experience in the oneness with Spirit, where we do affirmations all the time, especially when we notice that we're complaining or anxious or worried or whatever else, where we do some kind of prayer every day in the morning to set the tone, even if it means reading Science of My magazine or whatever, where we do visualizations every day, which means that we become aware of, like, yesterday I woke up sick because I had food poisoning, which is really fun. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have flamenco, I have to do this, I have to do that, we have a concert tonight, I have to meet Bob and Shannon, I have to blah. And I went, Frankie, hey, ooh, you, come back here. And then it was time for my spiritual practices, and the day just flowed. So what we notice when we do our spiritual practices, that we're in a different state. The day just flows, we feel more solid beneath our feet, it's magic all around, and we expand this idea of well-being and trust and that deeper connection, knowing that we're not in charge. We don't have to do it all, right? And so spiritual practice then is about the why. And the why is spiritual practice takes us to a different level in consciousness. It sets us free where we feel chained or bound or where we struggle, and it allows us to see ourselves from a different perspective, which we then take into humanity. We take into the world wherever we go, because you bring your light as well as your darkness wherever you go. And where is it needed the most? We already know that, right? So just do it. Just do it. Sit down in the morning and don't have this excuse that you don't know how to meditate. You do. You've done it so many times. When you looked at the moon, when you saw a beautiful sunset or sunrise, when you were walking in nature on the beach, when you're looking in the eyes of the beloved, now you just extend it. You just sit down, close your eyes, focus your attention on your breathing, and that's it. And then you freaking notice how crazy your mind is, how busy your mind is. That's important information, because wherever your mind is, your life is. And so you begin to notice all the stuff that gets in the way, all those distractions. There comes a moment when we meditate where those distractions fall away and we fall deep into the heart of love, and we immerse ourselves in that love and we rest. Some people say to me, I just can't meditate. I know it's a great excuse, because you can find a meditation that works for you. There are as many ways to meditate as there are people on the planet, so you find a way that works for you. Prayer, just speak from your heart, speak the truth. It doesn't have to be formal. We teach classes all the time, and we teach you how to do a spiritual mind treatment, which is just an affirmation wrapped around the remembrance of who and what you truly are, and then being grateful. Of affirmations. What is the essence of an affirmation?
Truth.
Truth. What else?
Heart.
Heart. What else?
Love.
Affirmation.
Affirming.
Affirming. What does affirming mean?
Saying yes.
Saying yes, saying the truth. So it's not I'm not or I don't have, it's I am, I have, I do. And just speaking your greatest and deepest longing. Visioning is a process, it's a practice where it's easier if it's facilitated by someone else or you listen to a guided meditation on it. It's a blend of meditation and prayer. And it's a very powerful tool. I use it whenever I prepare a talk. And I listen for the voice of spirit within me on what needs to be said, what needs to be done, and it guides me. It's such a fun process. So last week, I taught you a spiritual practice, those of you that were here or watched a live stream, and it came out of the book called The Cloud of Unknowing, which is a 14th century British mystic who's unknown, anonymous, and he uses the practice called centering prayer, which is where you have one word that you place in your heart and you put it on your breath. So how many of you practiced this week, those of you who were here or watched the live stream? Yes, one person. Yes, so that is the easiest prayer, the easiest practice where we pick a word. And if you don't have a word, pick love. And you just place that word in your heart and you allow it to be on the in-breath and the out-breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. And when your mind wanders, bring it back, in-breath, out-breath, and your word. That is the simplest practice that everyone can do while you're driving, while you're brushing your teeth, while you're peeing and pooping, while you're doing the dishes, while you're cleaning, while you're standing in line at the grocery store. You can practice that. Just imagine if everybody did that just in the grocery store. Wow! So you know that when you're doing spiritual practice in your day-to-day tasks, that it makes a difference not just to you, but everybody around you. So a lot of people then say, well, you know, it's hard for me to do spiritual practices because I don't have enough time. St. Francis de Sales says if you don't have time to practice meditation for 20 minutes, you need an hour. Another great excuse, right? I don't have the time. We can all find 10, 20 minutes in our day to do our spiritual practices. It will change that third. And so, what it really boils down to is that your life is a spiritual practice. Your life is a spiritual practice. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment is a spiritual practice. So you begin to notice how that works. And the more we do our known spiritual practices from the teaching, the more you feel and notice that every moment is spiritual practice. It helps when you're in traffic, when you get bad news, when you're worried about something, when you're too busy. Busy is such a great word, isn't it? Mm. And so we begin to notice that if my life is a spiritual practice, can I ask it as a question? Is my life a spiritual practice? In what way? How? When? Where? And then we ask, when, how, what, where not? And how can I infuse a little bit of it over here and over there and over there, so that when we are in this place of having difficult moments, which we all have and will forever, spiritual practices does not make those go away. Sometimes they light them up in bigger ways than you even imagined, and then we can say, see, it doesn't work. And so we notice, and we just keep going back to it. It becomes just the ground upon which we walk. It becomes the ground of our being. The reason that we say life is a spiritual practice, or that I think life is a spiritual practice, is because what we say in our teaching and in many spiritual teachings, we say that everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. How did we arrive at the place of saying, well, this is sacred, but this isn't? By the way, if you look at what's going on in the world, that's what that is. What we see in the world is such a dividedness within ourselves that the invitation is there to start healing that within and then taking that out into the world. What we see politically in this country right now is just a symptom. So you can talk about the symptom all you want, and have lots of opinions about it and be pissed off and angry and frustrated and scared and worried. But if you don't do the inner work, it's not going to change. So we begin by blessing those that are hard to bless. I know what that's like. And so then we say, when I look at this out here, what am I asked to see and do? What spiritual practice must I embody so that I can make a difference and I can be part of the healing of division? It's not just now. This has been a long time coming. This has been a long time coming. It's just at a head right now because we are at the end of an era and nobody likes it. And so there's a new era being created, and you get to be a part of it or you don't. You get to choose to be a part of it or you don't. If you are in anxiety and fear and judgment and pain and anger and complaining, you don't get to be a part of it. You get to be a part of the problem and slowing it down. But if you do your spiritual practices and you do your inner spiritual work, you get to be a part of creating a new era, knowing that you might not be here to witness it. Because it might not happen in our lifetime. But it's very demanding. And it is demanding us to do our spiritual practices every day, all the time. Knowing it's not going to be perfect because somebody's going to cut you off in traffic. We're in New Jersey. Somebody's going to say or do something that upsets you. Something is going to make you struggle. That's a good thing. And so that's why we've been talking all month about welcoming and embracing those imperfections, because they are there for you. They're there to grow you and heal you. They're not there to torment you, as some of us were taught in different religions. And so we begin to notice it, and then we pick a practice. We pick a practice. In traffic, somebody cuts me off. Okay, I can do affirmations, visualizations, visioning, spiritual mind treatment, study. Maybe in that moment you can't study, but you can say, well, what have I learned? Let me apply that. Or you can do your one word. Right? There's options. And then when we practice, we experience that shift in consciousness, and it becomes the embodiment, it becomes the experience. It just means we have to slow down our thinking, feeling, noticing process a little bit. And let go of shame and judgment, because if we judge ourselves and we shame ourselves, we can't grow or heal or make a difference in that moment. It just means we're riding that wave and we're being part of the problem, right? And so there's this wonderful cartoon that I posted with our weekly message this week. It's two monks sitting talking to each other, and the one monk says to the other, do you ever think about chucking all this and retreating to a life of mindless consumerism? There have been times, not anymore, where I thought, I think I'm just going to give this up and be a waitress somewhere in the Midwest. Just live off of tips. It'll be easy. My teacher said, if you don't take spiritual practices seriously, leave spirituality. Just leave it. And just do what you want to do your thing, don't do that. But don't call yourself a spiritual being. Don't think you are part of spirituality in the way that you long to be. It's calling us, right, to that higher ground. So what's happening then, what we find that is happening, is that we're in this place of remembering, forgetting. Oh, I forgot. I'm in Jersey traffic, somebody cut me off, and I'm chasing them down just so I can give them the finger. I used to do that. Right? Instead it's like, oh, here I am, God, before you, feeling anger, frustration, competitiveness, judgment. Like, just relax into that and allow love and compassion to be part of the wave that you're riding. And you know what? You'll forget. You'll do the chasing down with the finger 10 times, and then the 11th time you go, what the heck am I doing? And in that moment, we're at choice. So just a reminder, that the thing that we forget, that we are here to remember over and over again, is that we are sacred beings. We are individualizations of the One. We are gods and goddesses in our own way. We are spiritual beings in this human experience that really sucks sometimes. We are called to higher ground all the time. And when we do our spiritual practices, that ground becomes more solid. It's more easy to move around in life. I have fun witnessing people when they're not in a state of remembrance, and I let that be a mirror. Like, oh, where do I do that? When do I say that? And you know what? I'm not doing it perfectly. And so the closer to home, the bigger the blessing and the message. My work with my Norman is daily. Because he's a little more fearful. He's a little more, he's in a different place. And so I get to be the presence of love and not react. And I react less and less and less, but there are days, oh Lord. But that's true of all relationships, right? Is that life is reminding us that we are whole, perfect, and complete exactly the way we are. And we notice what gets in the way and we say, wait, I'm in my broken self. Let me choose and remember my whole self, which we always have had, we've always been, we always will be. That is not something that can be taken away or destroyed or erased or anything. Because that's what we're here to be. And that is needed from each and every one of us because we're each unique individualizations of the One. What if it's all easy? What if it's easy? What if it's easier than to struggle and to suffer? I believe it is at this point in my life. It's so much easier to not pay so much attention to what's going on in the world, to not judge people, places, and things as much. It's a lovely freedom that's available to all of us when we practice and when we study and when we do affirmations and when we do spiritual mind treatment and when we visualize and do all those things. So now we get to experience Andrew's spiritual practice, which is music and writing songs.
Okay. So this fits pretty well, I think. All you need to know about this one is it's a reflection on how we all don't have enough time, number one. And number two, at a drive-through bank, you got not those vacuum tube things; those are just fancy. But in the you had the slide-out drawer, and then you got that overnight deposit bin. That's all you need to know. Okay, here we go. This is all true, by the way. The only part I made up is a bridge. Okay, here we go. The only thing I can control is the way you say goodbye. Should you like to see me before they lay me down to rest? I don't want to be a bother, so please grant my last request. Let me have a drive-through funeral, so it won't take too long. 3 minutes at the window while they play a peaceful song. Simply let that engine idle as you pay your last respects. There's a slide-out drawer for a guest book and a bin for cards and checks. Slide-out drawer for a guest book and a bin for cards and checks. There's no problems with estrangement, no talk at the affair. Just drive through when you want to, she won't even know you're there. Don't need to wear that tight old suit, come and see me as you are. bins for cards and checks. Slide out drawer for a gift book, and a bin for cards and checks. We live our lives at a hurricane's pace. We wander around and we take up space. Seems an obvious thing to do. After all, we're all just passing through. So let me have a drive-through fuel, so it won't take too long. 3 minutes out the window while they play a peaceful song. Simply let that engine idle as you pay your last expense. There's a slide-out drawer for a guest book and a bin for cards and checks. Slide out drawer for a guest book and a bin for cards and checks. All true.
So I have to follow that?
It's like already, you know.
So I have a question. What is the best meditation?
Andy.
Mine.
Yeah, the one you do. The one you do is the best meditation. Right? So we're going to do a meditation today. And one thing that I've learned, thank you, Reverend Frankie, what a great talk. That is, it's so easy to respond to the world from here. And this is a wonderful teaching that we practice, that we're here to hear about today, right? There's lots of wonderful things to think about. And we can go on through our lives thinking about them. And one of the things that I'm learning for myself, I'm good at thinking. And I like thinking, right? Love to sit and read Troward. Oh, my goodness. And growing spiritually is a thing of more than thinking. So we're going to do a meditation, and I'm going to lead you in a meditation today. And the thing to remember, and Reverend Frankie talked about that a little bit, from my point of view, the meditation that's right for you is living inside of you, waiting for you to ask the question, what's the best meditation for me to do? And the minute you start listening, it's actually not, as my spiritual guide told me, maybe it's not listening, maybe it's just paying attention, more than just listening. So right now we're going to pay attention with our hearts, not just with our minds. So at this point, whatever you need to do to relax and be ready to pay attention, do that. If you like doing it with your legs crossed, do it with your legs crossed. You know, all this stuff about, you know, your arms have to be in a certain position. What's your right position to do meditation? And so let yourself go there now and be with that. And I'm going to start with it. This is from a book called This Thing Called Life by Ernest Holmes. I'm going to read a little section of it. He says, someday when you're confused, try this simple experiment. No matter how many thoughts of doubt enter your mind, just mentally brush them aside. Swipe right. Thought comes into your mind, brush it aside. Sit in the silence of your thought until you see through the confusion. You will soon discover that just as the sun dissipates the fog, so your sense of peace will penetrate a wall of confusion. Peace already is. We merely have failed to recognize it. And so now is a great time to just allow yourself if you feel like it, to take a nice deep breath. And what else is calling you to find your heart? Just pay attention to that now. And I'm going to recite this meditation. And I suggest that you pay attention to it from your heart, whatever that means to you. Peace is at the center of my being. I am conscious of this peace. I enter into this peace. I am surrounded by this peace. Are you paying attention to the peace? I'm going to repeat those first few lines. Is there a deeper place that you can pay attention to it from? How is it calling to you from within your heart? Peace is at the center of my being. I am conscious of this peace. I enter into this peace. I am surrounded by this peace. This peace moves out from me in all directions. It calms the troubled waters of my experience. It heals everything it contacts. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Are you hearing your heart talk to you? It heals everything it contacts. There is nothing but peace. I rejoice in this peace. I permit this peace to enter my soul. It fills me with calm. It inspires me with confidence. I know the deepest place within me pays attention and knows that this peace goes before me and makes perfect, plain, and straight my way. Peace is at the center of my being. Allow that presence of peace to fill every cell, every atom of your body, every thought in your mind, every feeling, and know that this is the presence of that one truth in you. And from this place, I'll do a spiritual mind treatment. And so this is the word of truth for each one participating in this divine experience. Those who are here in the room, those who may be listening at home, or who may listen to the recording. There is one truth, which is peace, which is calling to everyone, always, at every moment. It is that which is present as in and through this universe. And it is each one, everyone who is now listening. And so I know that that place within everyone is now opening like a flower blossoming. And the great fragrance, the great beauty is now opening up and being released for everyone participating. And so everyone is now experiencing and expressing that one truth, which is the truth of each of us as an individual. That's what is present. And I know that each person now moves forward in their lives from this moment and brings that peace with them into their lives. And it fills their lives. It fills their universe. It blesses them down to their fingertips and their toes and the top of their heads. And I know that it goes out from there and fills their world. And that the presence of this peace shows them the perfect practice for them. I know that each one is inspired to take this truth, to practice it, and to fill their lives with the love that they deserve, that is the center of their being. And so from that place, with great gratitude for this glorious truth, I release it. It is in the hands of the law. It is done. And so it is. There are copies of that meditation. If you would like it, just let me know.
Thank you, John. So, isn't it wonderful to remember that peace already is? It's already within us. It's who we are. We just forget. Those moments are powerful. They're just information. So that was beautiful. So John is doing Treatment Express. What that means is it's a quickie treatment. And if you want more, you reach out to any practitioner anywhere in the world, whether they are our practitioners, Gail or Lori and myself and Janice, or John or Susan. So I think it's really important to have a relationship with a licensed practitioner. I recommend it for everybody, or have a prayer partner. I have 3, believe you me, I need them all. Right? It's just a way to stay centered and supported. And so John will be over here, and you just kind of don't get to tell the whole story. You just say, I want a spiritual mind treatment for this, and he'll do a treatment for you. We have some really wonderful things that are coming up. as part of our, where we are part of as a community or of some of our teachings, we have a New Thought Fun and Food Gathering. It's the second year in a row. It's going to happen at Unity in Lafayette. If you want to go, you need to get your tickets because they are making decisions about whether they're having it or not because people aren't registering for it as quickly as we would like. Flyers over there. How many of you get the weekly constant contact email? Can I see by show of hands? The information is in there as well. If you want to be on that list to receive an email every week, let me know. Just sign up over there and I'll make sure you're on that list. But that's going to be August 10th. It's a Saturday and it is from 2 to 7. And we invite some people to help volunteer, to bring desserts. Be sure to bring a chair. And it is really all the New Thought communities in the New Jersey area. So it's going to be really fun. I am teaching, it's really a book study and exploration, and it's called The Spirituality of Aging. Anybody here not aging? One, two of you. Lying. Forgotten. No. So it's another spiritual practice. So it's a 6-week program. You can attend one or all 6. It's Wednesday nights on Zoom from 6:30 to 8, and it starts August 8th. And I also need you to sign up for that because there's a little homework in advance. And then we have on August 18th, Susan Need from Princeton is facilitating as practitioner of the day, but she's also teaching a workshop, and she's a wonderful teacher. It's called I Love My Body. Anybody here have room to love their body a little bit more? Just a little? That workshop is for you. She's a great teacher. I think that's it. So, you did a closing treatment already, really. It was just amazing, unless you want to do another one. But that was powerful.
All right.
So we'll have another song, and now we have our inviting you to support this community. We know there's many different ways to support the community. One of the ways is financially, and we're not asking people to give what they don't have or what they cannot give, and especially not to give with fear or feeling there isn't enough, but to just give from a place of fullness of heart and gratitude for being part of the spiritual community. There's many different ways to give. Giving today in a basket or in an envelope is just one way. If you want to find out more ways, there's a list in the back. You can volunteer. There's QR codes that you can use, but I will just pass the basket and we will do a little affirmation. Let's close our eyes just for a moment. And let's repeat after me. In this very moment, I remember that abundance is my birthright. I start by claiming this in my mind and heart. And I intend to dissolve any belief that's in the way. I claim abundance as my inner freedom. And I trust that the law provides. I accept that all my needs are met. And that circulation is a way to stand in that truth. And so it is. Andrew, play us out.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Play you out.
Get out.
Okay, this is, so, I need to stand for this one. This is a new one. I can't get much, well, I have one song that's newer than this, but I don't even know how to play it yet, so. This one, based on there's an Aesop's fable about an astronomer. It's called The Astronomer, you can look it up. But I basically tell the story, so I don't want to go into it. It's called Because It's Not Here. It's a way, maybe a way you can do your spiritual practice. I walking, looking up at the stars. So enthralled I missed the well up ahead. Up over the stone wall and into the water, I cried out for help, filled with dread. Till the stranger looked down and blocked out the light, pulled me to dry ground, learned of my plight, and said, why do you care about what's up there when you miss the things here in plain sight? I said, I look up there because it's not here. Because up in the sky all my worries and cares disappear. In the darkness of night, the stars bring me light. My reasons are perfectly clear. When I look into the heavens above, then I'm not here. Up there is order, fantastic design, intricate lines through the cosmos, the signature of the divine, predictable pathways, the river of the Milky Way, infinite eternity, planets with laws they obey. Down here there's chaos, hatred and war. So many I love aren't here anymore, and my hip gives me pains every time that it rains. There's so many things I'd rather ignore. So I look up there because it's not here. Because up in the sky all my worries and cares disappear. In the darkness of night, stars bring me light. My reasons are perfectly clear. When I look into the heavens above, then I'm not here. Don't tell me not to dream, 'cause the world needs dreamers, alright. I have the whole day to see the world this way. Don't take away my night. Up there because it's not here. Because up in the sky all my worries and cares disappear. In the darkness of night the stars bring me light. My reasons are perfect.